Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Back to Basics. I'm Rico Burton, and I am the Arizona volunteer. Happy to be here with you today. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to the more than 100 million Americans 50 plus and their families. That's health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. AARP also produces the nation's largest circulation publications, AARP the magazine and AARP Bulletin. In the month of September, AARP offers events and enriching experiences close to home and from your home that help you make connections and serve others. While our situations are different, our need for connection is universal. Now more than ever, we know that connecting with family and friends is vital to aging well and living longer, happier lives. And today, we're going to talk with Coach SheriAnne about healthy breakfasts. We want to welcome those who have already joined us here in the studio. Please let us know where you're from, and if you have any questions, put them there in the comments and we will get to them. Good morning, SheriAnne. How are you, Coach?
Great, Lady B. Thank you so much. How are you?
I won't complain. Thanks so much for asking. Let's get right to this. Healthy breakfast. Tell us a
Right.
little bit.
Well, and first of all, thank you for all of you that are joining. And yes, please let us know where you're tuning in from. It's always nice to see that. And so healthy breakfast. It's interesting because the word healthy has a tendency to make people kind of go, really? Like, why can't it be fun? Well, it can be healthy and fun. And so, what I really encourage people to do is really when you're thinking about your food and your diet and your meals, you want to be reminded that you want to eat to live. We're not here to live to eat. There are certain things that we do have that about. Like, I really, really love ice cream. And I've kind of gotten on this kick of making my own homemade ice cream because I don't like all of the extra additives and whatnot in ice cream. And so I've really taken on the enjoyment of making my own ice cream. But that's one of those things where I'm like, I live to eat that. That's yummy. But most of the time, I look at my diet like I'm eating to live. I'm eating for sustenance. I'm eating for energy because I'm very active and I want to live a long, vivacious life. So I eat to live. And I want to encourage all of you that are watching this to really take that into consideration when you're picking what you're choosing to put in your body, because what you're putting in your mouth is fuel for you to get through the day, to deal with your stresses and whatnot. So it's actually really more important across the board. It's not just, I need to eat, it's time to eat. Like, you got to think about what it's doing for you. And
Well,
so,
that's what I was going to ask you. What is your definition then of healthy?
so what you really want to consider is making sure you have all your macros, your macronutrients. So macronutrients are when you're looking at your fat, your protein, and your carbs. So not having a carbo-loaded meal without any fat or protein in it. And so when it's healthy, it's a nice, well-rounded and colorful. You've heard me talk about eating the rainbow and having a lot of color in your diet, because if you have a lot of color in your diet, then you have a lot of nutrients and vitamins, and so those are really critical for our overall well-being. So making sure it's well-rounded, you have your macronutrients, so fat, protein, and carbs, and then color. So that's what I consider a healthy meal.
Thank you.
So, and having good choices around is actually going to help take the overwhelm out. People tend to have a lot of overwhelm about meal planning and whatnot, but if you can just get into a habit of planning meals and having healthy choices, it's going to help you prevent skipping your meals and grabbing fast food. So some of these breakfast items that I'm going to show you, you can actually make ahead of time and have them available to either reheat or eat cold. And that way, when you're running out the door, if you're headed to a meeting, or if you're a mom like me and you're busy preparing your children for the day, then all of a sudden it's time for you to eat. What are you going to eat? So that you're not running out the door and, hitting a Starbucks or hitting something else that's fast food and not as healthy for you. So what's nice is some of these you can make ahead of time.
Well, some time ago, we talked about habits and making good habits and the rest. So we know that it's going to take, or could take, at least a month or so to get in the swing of things. So I guess we shouldn't give up and, just kind of stick with it until we can get that preparation, that daily preparation you're talking about,
Yep.
together?
Oh yeah. You just
Mm,
it's what's helpful is if you pick a day of the week that's easy for you. It might be a Sunday, but some people work odd swing shifts, or their weekend is actually their Tuesday, Wednesday. So whatever day you choose, pick that day and kind of think about your week to set you up for success, and try to plan ahead on that one day as much as possible. Usually I pick one day a week where I go do my massive grocery shopping. And then there's other days where I have to intermittently like run and go grab something. Or if I want it fresh, from Sprouts, then I'll go get it the day before. But try to really plan ahead, and it will take time. And if you find yourself getting flustered, just bring it back to the basics and being really simple and just planning. And sometimes using a calendar really helps, writing it out. So just if you feel overwhelmed, just kind of simplify everything as much as you can.
wow. Okay. I would think it'd be kind of tough to get breakfast things prepared ahead of time because they're, like cracking an egg or doing that. I mean, you'll tell us more about it. I want to see what you have. All right, here we go.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I have two teenage boys. My daughter's in college, and so the boys I'm really trying to. If I'm able to prepare for them, I will, because it's a joy of mine. I'm their mom. Eventually, they're going to be having to take care of themselves someday. But I do try to encourage them to, on the weekends when they're not rushing to get ready for school, to prepare their own meals. And so it's funny because my 17-year-old is like, it just takes so long to crack eggs and cook eggs. And one Saturday, it was actually this last Saturday, we were cooking side by side. He was cooking his meal, I was cooking mine. And he was like, how are you done so much faster than me? And I was like, I've been doing this for so long, and I know how to be super efficient and get it done. And he was like, I said, it'll come, just stick with it, and so just stick with it. But yeah, he was kind of like, he's like, can't you just do this for me?
Wow. Okay. Well,
There was a little spider that was deciding to like drop down.
ooh,
It would be nice if everyone could have a private chef. I mean, I love to cook, but it would be nice if I could have somebody like, yeah, can you prepare that for me, please?
wow. Okay. Well, show us what you got.
Yeah, so let's dive in. So another philosophy that I have also is to eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. And the reason for that is you really want to have your breakfast be exactly what it sounds like. Break your fast, because you've been fasting all night from not eating. And so breakfast is actually a really, really important meal. And I think I saw a question pop up about breakfast is the hardest for someone. And so it can be hard. Oh, right there, it's from John. So I'll let you read that, Lady B.
Okay. Well, somebody is asking too about vegan and vegetarian. They want to see something for that.
Okay.
And something from Dawn. I'm not seeing the Dawn one. I'll go get to it. Go ahead.
Okay. So what we can do is so I know that I just totally lost my train of thought as far as like what that question was. But let's just dive right in, and then we'll kind of go back through the questions. And if I don't get them answered in the show, I promise you I will go back through the comment section and answer your questions.
Well, somebody's asking about carbs and how can carbs be cut out? And then
So carbs, it's so interesting because like I said, you want to have a well-rounded meal with all your macronutrients, which is protein, fats, and carbs. Carbs sneak in everywhere. So even if you have a protein-laden meal, protein and fat, carbs will sometimes just creep in there in different ways. So, but you can just, if you have like an egg-based diet, like one of my first ones I will show you, I call them egg bites. And they're lovely because you can make them ahead of time, and then they're really easy to reheat in the microwave or in an air fryer. Or if you want, you could eat them cold. It's not a big deal. I prefer them warm. But what I do is I whisk up eggs, and then I'm going to try to tilt the plates and show you without my tomatoes falling off. So this is 6 egg bites. They're not very big, so you can see how small they are. I just use a tiny little muffin tin. And this right here is only 2 eggs. And then I add milk, chopped up spinach, cheese, finely diced bell peppers, and tiny, tiny chunks of bacon. So this is pretty much a protein and fat with a little bit of carbs from the vegetables that are in there. So this is one where you would cut the carbs out, and it would be protein and fat filled more on that spectrum, which is if you're more geared towards a keto diet, that would be this kind of a breakfast. And I love these, like I said, because I can make up a bunch of egg bites ahead of time, put them in a Tupperware in the fridge, and then they're so easy to reheat. I mean, they literally reheat like, because they're so small, like 10, 15 seconds. And
Okay.
and then I put little tomatoes on top. Sometimes I cook the tomatoes in, sometimes I don't. Just depends on um, my mood. My kids do not
Mhm.
like cooked tomatoes, so they don't do the ones with the tomatoes. But these are so easy and one of my favorite minimal, super minimal carb breakfasts.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for that question, John. We really appreciate it. And Lisa's the one that's asking, and she'll get to it, I'm sure. Just don't want you to forget it about some vegetarian and vegan options. But before that, those little bites. Now, you know, you're taking the time to prep those, but I have seen those at Costco in the freezer section, haven't I?
I have my whole thing is I would prefer to prepare my own because those will have preservatives in them. These will not. And it
Wow,
really
okay.
is not that big of a deal. It's whisk. It's yeah. I guess I got to chop the spinach and the bell peppers and whatever you want to put in there. But once it's done, it's done. And so that gets done on a prep day, and then they get thrown in the oven, and I just cook them at 400 degrees for like 10 minutes. That's it. And so yes, there are egg bites at the store that you can buy, but I'm just a big. I prefer to prepare it myself.
Wonderful, wonderful. But we know we have options. How's that?
Yes. Okay, so the vegan vegetarian option. So there's that term gets vegetarian. It's used very loosely. So if you're vegan, that means you're really strict. You don't do eggs, you don't do dairy, things like that. If I'm correct, if I'm misspeaking, please speak up. The person that's asking this question. So this next one is called a power bowl. I do have an egg in it because we eat a lot of eggs here at my house. My teenage boys plow through them because they are trying to bulk. So, but minus the egg in this dish, this is a vegan dish. And so I'm going to try and tip it without it not going. So this is what I call a quinoa power bowl. So what we have up here is a quinoa and lentil mix, quinoa brown rice lentil mix. So this is a full protein right here. So, and it's a vegan protein. So then I have, and I color, remember I said color. So I have purple cabbage. We do eat a lot of cooked cabbage here in this house because it's good for you in a lot of different ways. Then I have my egg sunny side up, which is my favorite way to eat it because the yolk runs and then I get to mix it in with everything. Some avocado for fat, tomatoes, and just a few little leaves of spinach. So minus the egg, this would be still a full protein breakfast because of this rice, quinoa, lentil mix. So, but I just add the extra egg because we like eggs, and I like sunny side up. So this right here is probably what I'm going to end up eating when the show is over. This will be my breakfast. But yeah, I really like the power bowls because they're very filling. Like this to me is eating like a king, or a queen.
So
Um,
is the quinoa hot?
no, it is warm when I cook it, but in this dish, it will be cool. It's not going to be hot. But you can have it the other way because the egg would normally, if I'm going to make this and eat it right away, this dish is a warm dish. These three things are warm: the quinoa, the egg, and the cabbage. But this could be eaten. I mean, I feel like it's best warm just because I think sunny side up eggs are better warm.
Thank
But
you.
today it won't be warm, but that's okay. But yeah, the Power Bowl is one of my favorites. Yes, it's not one that you can make ahead of time, but it's so loaded with nutrients. And so,
Okay, now before we go on, just because if you have another egg thing, people are still going to be wondering. Gail is asking us about eggs. She understands that eating too many eggs can be bad, so she wants you to comment on that.
okay, I'm really glad that you brought this up. Um, yes, once upon a time when there was the whole cholesterol craze, it was like, don't eat eggs. Eggs are high in cholesterol. Eggs are bad for you. Whereas eggs are actually the perfect, most complete protein that you can eat. And so, too many, that's questionable. That depends on your activity level and what you're doing. So, like for my boys, they are incredibly active. They play sports, they go to the gym 5, 6 days a week. So they can withstand and they're growing. So their bodies can actually handle that. Now, the older you get, if you're becoming less active, you're not going to want to eat so many eggs. So many, it's relative into what's, 2 eggs, I think is fine, even 3 eggs. If you're pushing it to 4 and above, like that's questionable. Like, does your body actually really need that much? So it depends on your activity level. But the whole old adage of eating a lot of eggs increases your cholesterol, that's not really true. What it is you not utilizing that energy that you're putting in your body in that cholesterol. We need cholesterol for our organs to function properly. So it just depends on where you're at in your activity level and the demands that you're putting on your body. I hope that makes
Thank you
sense.
so much. Well, there you have it, Gail. All right. So the thinking seems to have changed. Now, when you join us next month, the thinking could have changed again. So we'll just have to wait and see because we just don't know, do we? All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, is that 4 to 5 eggs a week or 4 to 5 eggs a day?
No, well, I would not go more if it depends on your activity level, but I'm talking about a day. Like, so for me, my breakfast, but my activity level is very, very high. It can be anywhere from 3 to 4 eggs at breakfast.
Okay.
But I'm also very, very active. And so, but my boys, they'll eat 5 and 6 eggs at a time. But once again, they're 15 and 17 years old and surging with energy.
All right.
So another breakfast, and this could be, this is not a vegan breakfast, but it could be considered a vegetarian breakfast. So what this is just a fruit and yogurt or cottage cheese with granola. So, and I do a grain-free granola. So I like cottage cheese or Greek yogurt. Sometimes I'll do a blend of the two together. So you can see that in the bottom. And then I have fruit on there. I have strawberry, blueberries, and pineapple. And then this granola is a grain-free granola. And I have found a particular brand that I really like, and it's Purely Elizabeth. There's all different kinds of brands out there for granola. So when you're doing granola, what I strongly encourage you to do is to do a grain-free one. And the reason is because if you do a regular granola, what we're used to, it is loaded with carbs and sugar, which if you're not going out and burning that, you could have like a sugar crash. Whereas the grain-free granolas have a tendency to be loaded with like nuts, seeds, coconut. So they're higher in fat and protein, but fewer in carbs. So like I said, this is the brand, and it'll say on it grain-free. This is the brand that I have really grown to love. But there's so many brands out there. So when you're looking at granola, flip it around and look at the nutrient facts. And making sure that it's not loaded with carbs and sugar. So really try to stay away from that when you're adding granola to your yogurt and fruit.
Some of that granola that's homemade is so good, but I know that it has some of those other things in it. Now, you haven't given us much of this. You mentioned bacon a little earlier, but Darlene from Detroit. Hey, Darlene, I'm from Grand Rapids, so kindred spirits over here. She says she likes eating food often classified for other meals than for breakfast. So are there types of food that you should avoid eating for breakfast? I'm with you. I can eat, well, I won't tell you what I can eat for breakfast. Go ahead, Coach.
Darlene, that's a great question. No, there's nothing that you need to avoid. Like you could eat dinner meals for breakfast. Like I was sharing with the ladies before we went on air, a big blue zones, because everyone's heard me talk about blue zones. Their big thing is like minestrone for breakfast. And so you can really eat whatever you want for breakfast. Breakfast is full gamut, because you want to eat breakfast like a king or a queen. It's how you start your day. It's how you energize your body for the day. So there's no rules. We've just, as a society, become into this whole these are breakfast foods, lunch, dinner, and it doesn't have to be that way. You could have, these items for dinner if you wanted, and had a dinner item for breakfast. So, nope,
Okay.
do whatever you want.
I'm just going to ask you to address these next two questions, and then we're going to go back and let her see what she's prepared for us, y'all. Erica's over here, Erica's clutching her pearls. She's like, wait a minute, did she just say she mixes cottage cheese and Greek yogurt? So is that what you said?
Yes, it is what I said. We have plain Greek yogurt and cottage cheese in our fridge all the time. Like there's staples that we have in the fridge that are good, healthy protein. Cottage cheese does have a lot of protein in it. So does Greek yogurt. Sometimes I just want the cottage cheese to be a little creamier and not so chunky. So I'll add the Greek yogurt to it. So sometimes I mix it together, and it just has to do with my mood and what kind of consistency I want. So I know it's a little quirky. I've always been quirky with my food, but I always try different things. And I tried it one day and I was like, I kind of like this. It's like creamier cottage cheese, but I know cottage
Yeah.
cheese is one of those things where you either love it or you hate it. It's not, there's no
Right.
in between.
And just because Coach SheriAnne likes something doesn't mean it's going to taste good to us. So just remember, it looks so pretty, doesn't it? All the colors and everything looks so wonderful.
My
All
kids
right.
would attest to that.
All right. I'm going to ask this one other question, and we're going to go back to what you have to show us. Somebody asks about your thoughts on egg whites. And can you eat 2 egg whites instead of a whole egg?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this. So it is not the same. So we need the yolk in order for it to be a complete protein. If you're just eating egg whites, you're not eating a complete protein. You are getting protein, but not nearly as much, for one. And for two, your body doesn't utilize that protein as well as if it were a whole egg. So you're so much better off having the yolk in there, because the yolk comes with fat, which our body needs. So I'm not a big proponent of egg whites. I always tell people, if you think you're doing yourself a service by doing just egg whites, you're actually doing yourself a disservice, because your body can't utilize that egg in the same way.
Okay, thank you for that, Mary Wells. That talking about Detroit. Now that takes me back to the Supremes and Motown. Mary Wells with that name, I love it. All right, and just so that Cheryl's not left out, just last question. She says, "Where do you purchase Purely Elizabeth?" That's a new item for her.
Okay, so I get mine at Sprouts. We have a grocer here in the Valley that supports local growers, and it's a produce store, but they carry other items. I've also seen it at Fry's. So that's a Kroger store. So you can find it at your local grocer. They just might not have as many selections, whereas like at the health food store, like a Whole Foods or a Sprouts, they'll have, because Purely Elizabeth has probably 10 different variations. But at like Kroger, I think they only carry like 2 or 3. And so when I want the one that I want, I need to go to a specialty grocer. But I'm sure you can also, lovely Amazon.
All right. Wonderful. Okay, thanks. What else do you have for us?
Okay. So the next one is avocado toast. This is another favorite of mine. I was trying to decide if I wanted to have this for breakfast or the Powerball when we were done. But so we do a full grain toast. It's going to be hard for me to tip up, but I'm going to hold it closer to the camera. So then I make guacamole, because I love guacamole. So, or you can just slice avocados, and I spread it on the toast. Then I put a sunny side egg up, and I typically sprinkle the chopped tomatoes on top. But if I did that, they would all just like roll off as I'm showing. So they're just sitting kind of propped atop. But this is also a perfect breakfast with all your macronutrients, because you have your full protein and fat with your egg and your avocados, and you have a grain, which a whole grain is actually really good if you get really good hearty bread, and then just some tomatoes for color and a little extra zest. And so this is a really easy one. It doesn't take much to make this. This would take 5 to 8 minutes maybe. So I love avocado toast. It seems to be popular with a lot of people. I should call it guacamole toast, because it's actually guacamole, because we always have avocados here at my house. I think you've all heard me say, if I could grow an avocado tree, I would.
Well, now, Janice, don't be sad. Janice is sad because she says she's allergic to eggs. Aw.
I can't even imagine, Janice. I'm so sorry. I'm serious.
Sorry. We're not laughing at you, Janice. Sorry. We're sorry. Oh, she's sorry. Well, you can go to that yogurt thing she had up there with the cottage cheese in it if you want to.
Yes. Yeah. You can do cottage cheese or yogurt. You don't have to do a blend like me.
All right.
Well, this is the next one that might work for you then. So these are called overnight oats. They're a favorite because they're very, very easy. This is something we can definitely make ahead of time. And I made 2 different kinds. So this one has apples and peanut butter, honey, and cinnamon on top. And this one has blueberries, strawberries, pecans, because I love pecans, with honey and cinnamon. So how you make these, and these are so easy to make, and you can eat them cold or you can eat them warm. Just depends on how you like oatmeal. Believe it or not, some people do eat it cold. So what you see in here, the dark, is chia seeds. So I add chia seeds. So it's oats, milk, a little bit of Greek yogurt to make it creamy, chia seeds, maple syrup. And I set just that bottom part in the fridge overnight. And then the next morning, I'll add the berries, the nuts, the honey, the cinnamon, or apples, peanut butter, honey, and cinnamon. And if you wanted it warm, you just take obviously the metal lid off, throw it in the microwave, warm it up, and you can eat it warm. And this is an easy one to take to work if you just want to take it to work and warm it up at work or wherever you're going. And really the fun thing about these is the bottom part is so easy. It takes a few minutes. And then you can play with whatever you want to put on top with overnight oats. You can have as much fun with it as you want. You can add whatever you want in there, and it just makes it fun and easy and transportable.
So they're going to taste cooked.
Oh yeah. So when the oats sit overnight, and that's the other thing is if you do the 1 minute quick oats, it'll make it mushy. So do traditional old fashioned oats or steel cut oats. So I like steel cut oats because it's just a heartier oat, but actually letting it soak overnight actually helps the breakdown of it and helps you digest it better. And then the chia seeds are really good for digestion. And so that's why they're in there. I love chia seeds, and it just makes it a little creamier and a little fuller.
Well, John is asking about flax seeds. Is that something you can add to this too?
Yeah. So you can. However, our digestive system, we can't actually get to. You're better doing ground flaxseed, like just dusting it with ground flaxseed. Because if you do the whole flaxseed, our digestive system isn't long enough to actually break down the casing of the flaxseed to get what's good for us inside. And so it's interesting when people put flaxseed and stuff. I'm like, well, you're just flushing it out. You're not really getting the good of it. So if you're doing flaxseed, do ground flaxseed.
Okay. And then somebody asked, what are the portions of oats to milk that you do?
I do a half cup oats, half cup milk, and then like a quarter cup, like a big scoop of Greek yogurt.
Okay.
Stir it all up with maple. Oh, and if you're allergic to maple syrup, just do honey or agave syrup. Those both are really naturally occurring sugars, and you can do honey or agave syrup.
And I bet you Anne is asking, how much sweetener do you use? Use what works for you. Because one person, I think, may not like something real sweet and somebody else may.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
That just makes sense.
I don't like a lot of super sweet things. So it's just, as far as to make things sweet, we don't use sweeteners. We use, honey, agave syrup, or maple syrup. Those are our three that we use in our house.
All right. How many more plates do you have for us?
That's it. It was 5 dishes.
Oh, wonderful. Then let me ask a couple of more of these questions before our time runs out. We have a couple of chefs over here. We've got people talking about they like tofu and ginger soup with this and that. So we've got some people doing their thing over there. I love it. And we answered your question, Anne, about the sweetener. And now Lisa also asked, which non-dairy milk would you suggest? She can't do milk.
You can do whatever you want, whether it be almond milk, oat milk, cashew milk, soy milk. I tend to do light on soy across the board, just because of hormonal reasons, but you can really use whatever milk you prefer.
Wonderful. That's nice to know. Well, you put a damper on this for me. When I look at people going out to breakfast and, we have eggs with some cheddar cheese on them over here and a little French toast. And don't forget whatever protein, meat and stuff you want. Then don't forget the orange juice and the coffee and the water. Good Lord. I looked at one of your plates and the little piece of toast was off to the side. I said, I have to get a little saucer to make it look like it was full or something. Girl, give me a full plate of something, please.
That's awesome. That's funny. I do have cheese on my eggs in my egg bites. So there's cheese in there.
Okay. There's a little hope then. Okay. All right. Wonderful. I like, believe it or not, I like a nice Southern meal sometimes. And I like to have catfish with my meal sometimes. Catfish and a scrambled egg or something like that. Is that considered too heavy? Should I do that at a different time? Or is it just not too healthy, depending on how I cook the catfish?
Yeah, depending on how you cook the catfish. But no, at breakfast, because it's at the beginning of the day, and like I said before, eat breakfast like a king or queen, like go all out, because then it helps you manage the day. What tends to be happens is people will skip breakfast and then they get to later in the day and then they're just ravenous. And so then they're finding whatever they can to put in their bodies. And so to avoid that, really try to have a good breakfast that's going to sustain you.
All right. Well, we have run out of time, and Cheryl is asking us about beans. Cheryl, we're going to talk about lunch, healthy lunch, the next time we're around. And Coach SheriAnne will get back to you and answer your question about beans. We want to thank you so much for joining us today to have this conversation about healthy breakfast. It's a meal that we're all going to need. So Coach SheriAnne is going to have some more information for you. Are you going to share those recipes with people?
If people would like them, not a problem. Yep.
Well, if you want the recipes, you got to ask. All right. So just feel free to beg and plead with her, and she will make sure that they're put someplace so that you could all see them. We want to say thank you for being with us. Be with us next time when we talk about having healthy lunches. Thanks so much. Thanks, Coach. We really appreciate you. You all take care. God bless.
Thank you.